Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Howdy, 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 and welcome to the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here at Fuji Speedway. Here for another fantastic round of these Formula 3.5 Championships. Cars, 3.5 cars, Renault 3.5s, Alpine 3.5s, I think they would like to be called, but they don't run these cars anymore. I am Austin Knight. I'm joined by Sebastian Bosch-Willows with John Robertson in the production booth. You're here live watching Apex Racing TV. Sebastian, how are you feeling today? How's everything going?
It's going great. Always a little bit better when I step into the commentary booth with you, Austin, for what promises to be another superb round of the Formula 3.5 Championship. I do think we need to start a poll to call them the Alpine Championship. I think that would be, it sounds a lot better than Renault, just in my opinion. But here today at the Fuji International Speedway, such a difficult track, one of the newest additions to the iRacing track list, and it's got this 1 kilometer back straight. Oh, so long, also difficult, in fact, to really nail the braking zone at the end to a really tricky, tight turn one. So expect action aplenty, expect overtakes aplenty, and maybe a little bit of spice added into the mix as well. Austin, well, you can't really go wrong, can you, with an iRacing Formula 3.5 race at Fuji?
You certainly cannot go wrong here. That long straightaway, it's going to be so key for these drivers using their DRS. Down that straightaway, slipstreaming is going to be very important, and what driving style that you're going to go after, because that final sector is going to be very key, and also that second sector too. Pretty much the entire track is key, just like every single racing track. But most people will overlook the long straight, but some people will be focusing just on that long straight and maximizing their car for top end speed, and that might produce a little surprise on that straightaway for a few of these drivers, just drivers focusing on that top speed, and might be a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know, Austin. I never
uncalled
ever...
hero.
I'd never like to think about what you're thinking about, Austin, because it's certainly a difficult game to play, but I completely get your sentiment. I tell you what, though, Eddie Samborski,
underdog, that's the word.
There you go. Eddie Samborski, a man that admitted that his previous race or lack of race really went by the wayside because of, a poor qualifying choice. Well, Samborski really proving that he won't make the same mistake twice. Very quick. But look at Carlos Dreshko, quickest in Sector 2. Carlos Dreshko is on an absolute mission at the moment, been so quick in the last two qualifying sessions.
0.05 of a second slower than Eddie Samborski, who just put down his fastest lap time. Wyzemaiski comes up in 7th place. times are very close to each other. Omar Baja jumps up into 6th place after his lap. Yeah, a lot of the drivers finding that 4/10 behind Eddie Samborski. A lot of curves by Coyote up there as Cal Young jumps up into 11th.
And Carl Young, another driver that's been also quick in qualifying. In fact, the 11 numbered car currently sits in 11th place. You have to go down to 14th place to find the first driver outside of the second of the pole time. So a really tight field today. And in Austin, all that really means is we're going to get an even better race, because drivers aren't really going to be able to escape that far ahead of the driver behind them just because of how long the back straight is. It's going to be really tricky to run your own race. And, you know, Eddie Samborski will be looking at the current qualifying times and realizing that Dreshko is a serious challenger to him today. So Samborski needs to nail that start and really needs to nail the first lap, but I think it's almost certain that we're going to have you know, a 2, 3, even 4-way battle for the race lead all race long.
It really is, and I'm very excited for all that. And with these well, nice slide, nice catch right there as Simone Pizka almost spins out in that final corner. You know what these cars around this track remind me of? It reminds me a lot of watching Super Formula, and this is going to be pretty much deja vu, because these cars do look like Super Formula cars, just without the addition of Toyota, Honda badges, and their version of KERS.
Yes, but of course we have a little bit of a timed or exclusive DRS system, and of course these cars, one of the last generation of open wheel cars, do not sport any head protection devices. And you know, the more that we evolve into having halos, especially in motor racing, these cars look more and more outdated. And you know, I know it's a little bit of a side note, Austin, but can you remember all of the backlash that all of the head protection devices were getting a few years ago? But now it has become standard, and you almost start to notice not having them more than actually cars having the halo, for instance.
Yes, and I'm honestly kind of fed up with every time somebody says the Halo saved the life. Yes, we know. That's why it's there. You don't need to keep pointing it out as defending it. We all accept it.
I'm completely with you, and you know, those arguments were put to bed very, very quickly after the introduction. But of course, you don't need any form of real protection in sim racing. The sort of the most damage that you can do to yourself is maybe a sprained wrist or two if you're very, very unlucky. But qualifying then coming to an end, and it looks like everybody has qualified that I can see. I think unusual, Austin, because we normally have a few drivers choosing not to qualify, but everybody set a lap.
Yeah, everybody has set a lap, and everybody is all good to go here. But yeah, that is a very rare situation we sometimes have. But yeah, everyone's set a lap. Everyone's all good to go. As iRacing is good to go right now, as we are gridding up right now.
Yes, we are. Sorry, Austin, having a little bit of technical issue. I think the grid has just come on the screen.
Yes,
so
it
why
is.
don't you run us through?
Eddie Samborski started up on pole position, followed by Carlos Derecho. Rob Bohr, Simone Pizzica in 4th place, followed by Marcos Alarcon, Omar Baja, Miguel Crespo, and Eric Weisenmeiski, followed by James Burnett and Ori Lopez. Cal Young and Sergio Macias right behind them in 12th place. Simon Graff and Jamie Byrne, followed by Marco Chiodi and Dennis Cornu, with Frederick Vesti at the end of our 17-car grid here at Fuji.
Going to be such an interesting race today. It's all going to be about who can get a good launch, and we know how good Samborski can be with getting those launches away from the line. You know, they're halfway down the straight, which means they've got, you know, a 500-meter run towards turn 1. So slipstreaming will be a valid tactic before you've even applied the brakes. So such a difficult race ahead for our drivers today. Going to be utterly enthralling, and I'm pretty sure I've spotted a fairly familiar name to any open wheel racing fan. We might have Frederick Vesti on the grid, of course, the Formula 2 driver and a supremely quick real life talent. And I think he might just be Austin on our grid tonight.
Yes, at the end of the grid, it says he's Scandinavian. So, but we're going to see that. I believe it's actually him. I'm not sure, but this is the first time we've had Formula 2 or real-life racing talent on the grid, so we're going to see how everyone goes so far, as it is time to get ready to rock and roll here at Fuji as we go green, green, green. And Eddie takes a fantastic start off the line, leaves everybody in the dust. He's got pretty much 3 car links heading into turn 1, and then 3 wide, right behind him, a big dive down towards the inside, and right behind him, 3 wide as well, as cars have a little bit of contact around the outside, and around we go. One car pointing at the end, but everybody else is pointing straight forward, as it is Eddie Samborski leading out Simon Pizka and Rob Bohr, your top 3 right now, but very chaotic start in the midfield where everyone was pretty much diving 3 wide into turn 1.
I think somebody was being forced along sideways. It all was a concertina effect through turn 1. Really not unexpected, really, around Fuji, but drivers really scuffling and scrapping for positions. Frederick Vesti making his way past Jamie Byrne. Byrne sends it to the inside, heading in to Dunlop. Really close racing already. Drivers knowing, Austin, how crucial it is to be in the slipstream of the car ahead and to sort themselves out before we get to this long straight. But, you know, as I said, I was almost certain that we might see a 2, 3, 4-way battle for the lead, while Samborski once again is proving us all wrong in the commentary booth. 1.2 seconds separates himself from second. He won't have any threat down the back straight in terms of slipstream.
Yeah, back straight, front straight, but yeah, he was never in any problems out of that start. He had the best start I've ever seen Eddie Samborski have, and it was beautiful to watch. As this is Simon Graf getting a good run. He's chasing down Omar Baja up ahead. He's looking down towards the inside. Side by side, a big send by Graf for 5th. And he's cleared him right there. Beautiful dive, and watch out for Baja because Eric Weisenmeiski is right behind him.
Weisenmeiski's had a great start at 1 spot. So has Jorge Lopez behind him. That's very wide from Baja.
That'll be a 1X. 3. I know this track like the back of my head from the Touring Car Championship. That would be, chaos in the background. That's Crespo in the wall.
He was applying the brakes. So early, just no traction on the outside of the circuit. And poor Crespo is going to have a little bit of damage. Quite hefty contact is down the inside. There goes Sergio Macias on Weisenmeiski.
Oh, look at that beautiful move around the outside. Weisenmeiski trying to hold it through Dunlop corner, but there's Macias right there, and now there's one of the Burns going down towards the inside. And Byrne now stuck on the outside, but they're still side by side through this snaking final sector. Weisenmeiski and Byrne still side by side, 1 final corner to go, and they're still side by side, but they just cleared each other right there. Weisenmeiski behind Byrne. But this is just going to be very short-lived because here comes Weisenmeiski right back. DRS activated by both the drivers. As they go, say it with me, side by side once again.
Weisenmeiski really got pushed out of line through the first chicane, and that just really allowed James Byrne to make the move past him. It just goes to show that this is such a flowing track. If you get shoved offline, it's so hard to pick up any pace that you've lost. So sort of a little bit of a marker there that Weisenmeiski has proven that, you know, if you almost need to not fight a move too much, just slip in behind the driver and try and get them back down the straight, because Weisenmeiski lost so much time going side by side through the chicane up towards turn 12.
Yeah, we got to replay the start. Look at this start. First of all, number 17, Simon Pizka diving up onto the inside, but this is chaos at the start. Marcos Alicron just trying to stay within track limits at the start. Got tapped in the rear and went around right there. Very unfortunate for Marcos Alicron, but Simon Pizka, if you saw that replay, the white car at the bottom of your screen, number 17, diving it into second place. Pizka wasn't on the front row in this qualifying session, and wow, that was a very brave move by Simon Pizka.
Pizka really with a lot to make up after that mistake that we saw through turn 15 on his qualifying attempts. Pizka doing exactly what he needed to do, and very committed, you have to say. And it's always a difficult game to play, especially when you've got so little knowledge of how the car will perform. Miguel Crespo, is this his spin, or is this afterwards?
He's got ran over right there.
The rear. Miguel Crespo, though, already carrying damage to the front end of his car. I think that's what caught out Austin, the driver behind him. Miguel Crespo just unable to take as much speed through 100R. I think driver behind, and I do believe it was Marco Chodi that Chodi was expecting.
Yeah, Coyote was probably very caught out because 100R, that corner is so meticulous, as that is Piska on the very outside of the track going pretty slow. I think he might have picked up a slowdown by accident, because here comes Bohr down towards the inside, and Piska falls down to third, but Bohr goes a little bit wide through the entry to Dunlop. Piska can bring this back right now. We got to fight for second place through that final sector. You can see all the cars nose and tail of each other, and the only car that's missing for the shot is Andy Samborski, who is gone from these fighting few as they go through the penultimate quarter. Bohr trying to pull away from Simone Piska. Piska is going to be maximizing that straight line speed down the straightaway, and so is everyone else's. DRS is being activated one by 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 one. Everybody using DRS down the straightaway.
Really crucial, isn't it, to keep with the car ahead of you, and DRS always proving a necessity at this early stage of the race, nullifying really any benefits that you might gain from
piece of cup. He was really looking for that move, but these top three so far in this fight for second, the Stretcho right behind him is definitely wanting to have a little bit of fun and definitely grab Baja Lopez as well. But if I was in this fight and I see everybody using DRS, I would not use DRS, because I know the times that they're not going to be using DRS, they're going to be caught out in the most crucial points. And if I can stay with them, I could definitely punish them at the end. And speaking of being punished, Simon Piska got a little bit wide at the exit of the hairpin, and now here comes Carlos Derecho trying to make a little bit of a revengeful move on Piska. Piska defending down towards the inside, heading into Dunlop corner. Early break by Derecho. Piska goes wide. Pretty much just like what happened to Piska with Bohr, but now Derecho charging Piska. Piska forced to leave a little bit of space on that apex right now. Derecho trying to see if he can make a move before the straightaway, or is he just going to set himself up for another move on that straightaway? I think we're about to find out, looking for the front straightaway. Let's see if we see any DRS usage from Piska. Piska not using DRS. If you can see through the wing, the DRS is not activated. If you can't see through the wing, that means DRS is activated. The DRS system for these Formula Renault Alpine 3.5s is just a little bit of a flap that shoots up in the middle of the wing. You just saw it being adjusted right there by Derecho. Just a little small flap, and that flap stalls out the rear wing, and just kind of like the F-duct system was used in Formula 1, and that makes the car go faster in a straight line and doesn't make the rear wing that effective because it stalls it out. Aerodynamic lessons. It's magic. I don't know how.
You just reminded me of the F-duct system from the Formula 1 cars. What an
I know, because I said it.
Advantage that, well, amazing little pieces of machinery. Carlos Dreshko, though, in third spot. Simone Piska just not able to find any form of grip out on the circuit. He's always having to defend from the car behind him. I sort of don't remember the last time I saw Simone Piska actually take the racing line into a crucial braking zone, and that just really hurts not only your lap times, not only your confidence, but your tyre wear as well. He's putting more load through the front tyres than he needs to, and likewise when he gets to the exit of the corners, he's having to feather the throttle more, and it's sort of just this spiraling, this death spiral almost of tyre temperatures raising that, you know, forces you.
Oh,
big spin
that's Frederick Vesti. Vesti goes for a spin and a hop in the final sector as he tries to throw the car back on track, and he's going to tow himself back into the pit lane. Oh, very unfortunate for the Formula 2 driver, as this is Omar Baja side by side being overtaken by Lopez. Lopez on the inside, Baja on the outside, but Lopez able to make that move work. Baja very slow off the apex. Looking like Baja wanted to try for a switchback move, but Lopez was right there.
Lopez up 4 spots into 6th. Simone grabbed the car ahead of him, up 8 places from the start of this race, the highest gainer by far on the circuit at the moment, although Jorge Lopez starting to close Simon down, so that could be a fairly interesting battle in a few laps or so. And actually, interestingly, Jorge Lopez is starting to lead this battle up towards the top 5. You've got Baja, Macias, Byrne as well. These drivers all so close together. This, Austin, is what happened to Frederick Vesti.
I think we're going to be seeing a curb hit right there. Yeah, we saw the yellow curb on the outside hit the car, He ran over that little ditch, and then that just really upset the car. That could also cause a bit of damage. Oh, that is a very dangerous rejoin right there, almost into the side of the other car. And that's where we switched our cameras onto him right there. But, ooh, yeah, these yellow curves are very infamous in Super Formula and Super GT. I've seen so many of those cars get launched into the air by these curves, and they bring a lot of damage to the car. So if you hit one of these cars, especially these Formula Renault 3.5 cars or any single-seater, you're going to be flirting with disaster of potential floor damage as well. And with the iRacing damage over time, you could hit them at one point and keep hitting them, but eventually it will break. And these curbs, they have a big ditch in the middle of them, so they kind of drop off, and you can kind of hook a wheel into them, but that will also bottom out the car. So I think that's what happened to Simon Piska, and he might be dealing with a little bit of floor damage.
Certainly could be the case. We saw Yuki Shirakawa, I think, last season do exactly that, was running really quick in the opening phases of the race, picked up a little bit of floor damage and just had to sort of nurse the car back to the end. Although at least in Pisaka's case, if he has picked up a little bit of floor damage, it's not so bad at this stage. But, you know, that vicious cycle, Austin, that I was talking about, you know, driving offline, you know, just heating up the tires. Well, it's the same if you get a little bit of damage, because the car just doesn't have as much grip as the drivers would have been used to doing all of those practice laps. So you start, you know, pushing the car a little bit more. The car naturally just understeers wide as it doesn't have the grip, and then you can start sort of hitting the curves more frequently, and then that just, I mean, it is a vicious circle. What's happened to Baja and Macias?
Well, Baja's sideways, and that's Macias rejoining the track. I think they might have touched heading through the final corner, but that is a big oof moment right there. That's Macias heading into the pit lane. So what's happened right here? This is Macias on the back of Omar Baja. They're trying to chase down the car ahead. Baja's going very tight down the line, and Macias, Baja has hit that inside curbing, and that inside of the curb, there's a little bit of a plate that looks like to be a little bit of a storm drain, and he lost the back end of the car, went out and caught Macias to his front wing, and that sent them both off the track and sent Macias into the pit lane to get that repaired. That is so unfortunate by both the drivers, but I would say Macias would be the innocent party and all that, and he would probably be the most disappointed out of it.
Macias really chose the wrong way, didn't he? He tried to get out of the way of the spinning Baja, but...
Well, he didn't know that he was going to spin. He was just staying in his line, and unfortunately, when you're both turning at the same time and you lose traction, you go towards the outside of the track, and it's kind of one of those unavoidable incidents that you see a lot, and it's a very common incident if you see it on oval tracks, because usually momentum carries the car in a straight line.
Before then, under pressure from Carlos Tereshko, Simon Pisaka just about staying with your third place man, Carlos Tereshko, and Rob Bohr really running this pack. Although Rob Bohr's managed to arrest that sort of gradual slide away from Eddie Samborski in the race lead, only sort of 3/10 loss on that lap. But once again, Austin, we're seeing Eddie Samborski, as soon as he gets the race lead, which was easy for him this time, starting from pole, he just is able just to keep it, slowly extend his race lead. And can anybody challenge Eddie Samborski as soon as he sees clear track ahead of him?
Besides any lap 1 incidents and bad qualifying results, no. But Eddie has been riddled with them, but the times that he has not been involved in any lap 1 incident or had a bad qualifying, he's been on top of his game and pretty much putting those incidents behind him, as he is currently 6.3 seconds clear of everyone else. That's a very rough entry into that corner by Rob Bohr. Locked up the brakes and slapped the inside curb right there. You saw the car bounce up and down just a little bit, and that's going to give Derecho an opportunity to close him down and methodically take second place, because he's been slowly gaining on Derecho, slowly gaining on Rob Bohr.
He has, and Rob Bohr starting to feel that pressure, getting so close to the curve on the final corner, turn 16. That's where, well, they are some of the, if not the highest curves on the racing circuit. So easy to run by and really damage your flooring. And for Gush Mezra, it will mean you'll have a really bad run out of turn 16, which leaves you very vulnerable down this back straight. Carlos Tereshko, so late under brakes.
Oh man, that is calculating to the nth degree right there on how close can I get without hitting the car in front of me. Usually see a guy go late on the brakes like that if he's going to go for a move, but the Retro just stayed right behind Abor and just said, I'm just going to go for it, try to close the gap as close as I can. Up behind him, Omar Baja battling with Young. Young at Coca-Cola Corner, taking the apex and staying within the track limits. Track limits on this track, it is the outside of the red curb pretty much. But in these Formula 3.5 cars, if you find yourself going out there, you're going to be having a rough time. As this is Eddie Samborski in a practice session. This is actually live photos and not a replay of the practice session or qualifying. There is nobody around him.
Very reminiscent of Max Verstappen at Mexico. You don't really need to see him because, well, he's in exactly the same place when we left him, what, 11 laps ago now. Samborski, oh, so quick, set the fastest lap of the race last time around, a 25.9, the first man into the 25s. Sets a 26.1 on this occasion, but still hands down one of the quickest drivers out on the circuit. Looks like there's a move for Austin for second.
Yes, we go. Here we go. Derecho clearing Bohr, heading into the braking zone and cementing that second place right there. But Bohr is probably going to be looking to get that pass on Derecho right back. But Derecho, like I said, he's been slowly closing down on Rob Bohr, and that move for second was absolutely coming for him. As this is Dennis Cornu chasing down Quixote up ahead of him. As Quixote is just hugging that 100R line. And 100R in these cars is so much fun. In touring cars in Formula 3, you kind of have to dice with the throttle. In these cars, you can pretty much throw it into there and know that it's going to stick a little bit of hit and miss right there. And also in the Mercedes Formula 1 car, oh, it's so much fun just throwing it through this corner.
Fuji is certainly a track that favors a downforce car, very much like its fellow track in Japan, Suzuka. Really, the two sort of go hand in hand. Both have very sort of long technical sections where if you get offline, you can really start to struggle, and that's where downforce cars absolutely excel. Although, if you get stuck behind a car like Dennis Cornu is at the moment, those sort of long sweeping sections that once also fun can become really difficult as you have to battle in the dirty air.
Derecho and Bohr, part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Bohr retakes the position, but here comes Derecho right back, heading into turn 1, and right behind him, Pizzica and Graf are battling all over the circuit as well. Pizzica able to stay ahead of Graf, and Derecho falls to Bohr, heading into Coca-Cola Corner, but Derecho is going to try to hold it around the outside, but Bohr swings it out towards low and keeps it all there, but he hops over the track limits just a little bit. But Derecho, he's putting a lot of pressure on Bohr, but Bohr taking it right back at him, heading into the hairpin, and 300R right now. Derecho versus Bohr. It is electrifying, and it is absolutely fantastic to watch them as they fly through 300R, heading into Dunlop Corner right now. Are we going to see Derecho send? No, we are not, but Bohr is feeling the pressure, and Derecho's feeling the pressure as well, because there's Simone Pizzica behind them.
Actually, Simone Pizzica just wasn't close enough, was he, to really capitalize on Bohr and Derecho side by side through turns 3, 4, 5, and 6. But now Simone Pizzica firmly in this battle for second. Don't count out Simon Graf as well. He's in the background, the highest gainer so far in this race. He knows how to overtake. He knows where the best places are in today's proceedings as they head down the 1 kilometer back straight. It's anyone's game who will emerge in second place, Austin.
Yeah, I believe this lap is going to be Bohr. Bohr's using DRS. DRS not being used by Derecho or Pizzica, as Bohr is just going to try to stay ahead of everybody else down that straightaway. You can see how much or how little DRS affects you when you're ahead of the line. Pizzica deciding to go just a little bit outside of the track.
Just a little bit. He was almost in the Atlantic Ocean there. Oh, so close to disaster for Pizzica. I remember Austin earlier in the broadcast that you mentioned, you know, how the curve sort of dropped away. It's so easy to end up spinning when you go so wide on the exit of turn 1. So I think Pizzica might be having to count his lucky stars. Maybe might want to invest in a little bit of a lottery ticket, of course, once the racing has finished.
Yeah, that'll be the Pacific Ocean, not the Atlantic. Wrong side of the globe. And Pizzica's had an issue.
Simone Pizzica then falling down. I don't need to know the oceans, Austin. I'm a commentator. Geography was never my strong suit. Simone Pizzica, though,
I've embarrassed
really
myself with
struggling.
geography once, and I will not do it again with the location of Switzerland.
I tell you what, though, Simone Pizzica's still struggling to get that front end to turn in. I wonder if he has picked up some damage, and that damage is starting to really sort of show itself to the front, because that car does not look right whatsoever, Austin.
Yeah, I feel like he had another issue, but that might have been a slowdown as well, because he was very off the line, heading through Dunlop corner off the exit. Board defending on the inside. Here comes the Retro around the outside, taking a very wide entry. He's going to go for that switchback move right there, but Board stays ahead of the Retro as this fight for second continues between these two.
Ball cutting across the front end of Carlos Dreshko on the exit to turn 3. He was entitled to do that, but you always get a little bit scared when you see drivers sort of cut across, because you can end up in an almighty accident if you're not careful. This, I think, is what happened to Pizzica, and this is how Graf managed to find his way through.
Yeah, watch the exit of this corner. You're going to see Pizzica, just pull over to the left.
I think he got a little bit of oversteer there, Austin. I think
Too much mustard?
Too much mustard.
It was like the smallest smidge of extra mustard right there, because there's no wheel spin, no drama. This is a sudden pull to the left, but he caught it, and he kept on going. But Pizzica's tires are really going to be hating him after that. And so far during this race, his tires have been screaming. But if Pizzica's staying in 5th place and stay ahead of Byrne, this will be a good result for Pizzica.
It really will be. I think it's all about for Simone Pizzica now just surviving, keeping the tyres as cool as possible, really managing any further or any more curb strikes in future. It's just, you know, lapping away, getting to the end of the race. It's not necessarily the most fun, but it's certainly what it needs to do.
It certainly is, and here we go again. Derecho down the inside, and he's made it work this time.
Boy, had so much oversteer on the mid part of the corner. I think as soon as Carlos Dreshko cut across the front end of his nose, the downforce washed away from the front end of Rob Bour's car, and he really had to work to keep it from swapping ends. Great car control by the 3rd place man, Rob Bour. But Dreshko, now he's gotten that advantage. The gap is almost a second, 7.5 tenths at the moment, and wide for Rob Bour. This is Carlos Dreshko's opportunity to escape, to run away, and to really cement that 2nd place.
Yeah, you find the opportunity to pull away, and this is where you do it. You maximize on the mistakes of everybody behind you. But honestly, if one car makes a mistake around here, they're just going to start making even more, because once these tires go, they are gone. And taking that very wide line is just going to be even more room for mistakes heading through that corner. As heading into the final corner right now, Derecho is just about 9 tenths ahead of Bour, and Bour really needs to maximize that straight line speed. And this is where, if I was Derecho, to use DRS to pull away, but there is Bour using DRS, but not following Derecho. He's just staying in that line, and now he's in the trap that will just barely increase his top speed and close down that gap. But if he was following that line the entire time, that would have been a much better line. But how many times has Rob Bour used DRS compared to Derecho? Because we're closing into these final stages of the race as we fly through Coca-Cola corner. I saw a lot of grass line on the outside. Somebody's grass dipping.
And that's the big question, isn't it? How many DRS uses do your 2nd through 5th have? And that will really decide the positions, I think, today. It's all about who can tactically use the DRS. And there is a real tactic to it. It is like ERS in the Formula 1 cars, or KERS in the old days of Formula 1. It's such an important measure to maximise your race time, your race results. I'm surprised, though, that Carlos Dreshko didn't feel the need to use DRS. He did manage to survive, but Rob Bour gained 4 or 5 tenths on him down the straight.
We're closing.
Dreshko.
We are closing in on 8 laps to go, so I think he's just waiting for the final 8 laps. Some drivers are very methodical like that and just stick to the game plan and don't adjust it. I'm one of those drivers. I will do that all the time. I would just wait for that final moment, and then those 8 laps, when I hit lap number 8, hit the button.
Of course, we've even seen some drivers finish with more DRS uses than or finish with some in their back pocket.
Yeah, I think Samborski wasn't a... No, it wasn't Silverstone, I believe. He used DRS about 4 times in 1 lap to get the track record.
It does sound very much like Eddie Samborski. Don't count out him.
Tim DeLisle did it.
Something similar in today's race. Tell you what though, Rob Bohr still just about behind Carlos Dreshko. Rob Bohr set a new personal best. He was 3/10 quicker than Carlos Dreshko on that previous lap. So that battle for second spot, Austin, certainly not done and dusted. And Simone Graf in the background, P4, he's involved in that battle as well. And we are going to have such an enthralling 8 laps to go in this race.
We really are, as they continue on here at Fuji through 300R. Dennis Cornu, and up ahead, Burns off the track. He's just got overtaken by Lopez. This is Byrne right now, James Byrne, and Weiser Maisky make a little bit of contact off the exit of Dunlop corner. So Byrne losing 2 spots. What has happened here to James Byrne? I feel like the first part might have been a mistake on his own. We might see a little bit of a lockup through Dunlop corner. Oh yeah, that is... Ooh, Tokyo drifts south through there, just losing the back end. The car was so unstable, and that just takes a little bit of a tap, or had a little bit of oversteer right there. Can't really tell from that camera angle what exactly happened, but Weiser Maisky gets the overtake on Byrne, and James loses out 2 spots to Lopez right there, and now sits in 8th place as we start lap number 19 of 26.
Gaining on Marco Chodi. That's going to be another battle that will reign on to the end of the race. Both of the drivers, in fact, up 6 places from where they started. Cornu really hustling Chodi through turn 3, really starting to gain a little bit. What has happened to Simone Biesiger? I see him falling down our timing stands. Austin, Simone Biesiger had a little bit of an issue because he is certainly not out on the racing surface at the moment.
Yeah, Pisga's not on the surface, and I feel like this might be a connectivity issue. I did not see an incident happen, as this is side-by-side through Dunlop. Dennis Cornu was pretty much stuck between a rock and a hard place, and Coyote is just able to stay ahead down the inside right there, and just able to use the track to his advantage. But Dennis Cornu not giving up the spot at all.
Cornu really couldn't turn in to the apex of turn 10. He was going to have a whole load of Formula 3.5 car in the way. Cornu picked up so much understeer through the exit of turn 16, really hampered any chance of getting past Coyote down the back straight towards turn 1. DRS, though, in use for Dennis Cornu. Can he gain enough to send it down the inside, or is he just going to have to simply, Austin, wait for 1 more lap?
He's got the speed, but ooh, late defensive line up ahead by Coyote. Cornu could have the around the outside move, but he was very delayed on that turn in once more. Not going to be able to have the speed to get the line right there. So we have about 7 laps to go here at Fuji.
7 laps, 7 crucial laps for Carlos Dreshko and Rob Bohr. They're still locked in that battle for second place. So too is James Byrne and Weiser Maisky after Byrne's. Well, Weiser Maisky almost made contact on the exit of turn 12, heading very much to the scene of the crime, as it were, for that little scuffle. Is once again Cornu and Coyote, Austin side by side. Coyote really likes
switchback opportunity. Cornu, he wanted to go for the switchback opportunity that time, was set up in the same spot that he was last time where he couldn't turn in. Well, this time he wanted to break earlier and go for that switchback, but that was defended well by Coyote, as they are going to be in for a big scrap this time. But Cornu, he can maximize this exit right there. Look at that wide setup. It's going to maximize all the top end speed of this car. He's going to go down that front straightaway, and that's DRS activated by Dennis Cornu and Coyote. Both of them using DRS now. Up ahead, though, Weiser Maisky under pressure by James Byrne. Byrne on the inside, Weiser Maisky on the outside, and Byrne sends it up down low, and James Byrne up into 6th place. And James Byrne, if you look at the front right wing, it's just a little bit lifted. He does have some damage on the front right of that car.
I wonder if that's a little bit of battle scars from Weiser Maisky and Byrne coming together a few laps ago. And Byrne recovering very nicely after that mistake at turn 10. Of course, well, or supremely held, you have to say, for James Byrne. What can he do? Is Carlos Dreshko, is he off the circuit? Rob Bohr certainly has found his way past, and Dreshko, oh, he looked, so comfortable in second place, but a mistake sees him Austin fall down to third.
Yeah, there's some smoke in the air, so this might be what we saw with Simone Pizzica and a few other drivers getting loose in the braking zone at Dunlop Corner. And yes, it is another slide and a lockup right there. Carlos Derecho falls to third after a late race mistake. And that is going to be very frustrating for him, and Rob Bohr is going to be very happy about that.
Rob Bohr then up into second, right, 1.3 seconds separating second and third. Bohr will be ecstatic with that mistake from Carlos Tereshko. And if you sort of wondering why they end up, starting to lock the front end and then losing the rear, it's very much the typical understeer turns into snap oversteer, and well held by both Tereshko and Byrne so far in this race. And all while, all of this, has been unfolding, Austin Eddie Tamborski just slowly sort of lapping away, currently has the fastest lap by some, 0.3 of a second or so. I mean, it's just another dream race for Eddie Tamborski. And you don't even have a threat of him making a mistake. He's so consistent when he gets out into the lead of a race. The only time that we've seen him, make a mistake is when he's either been under a lot of pressure or simply at the start of a race. So the number one car looking to get another race win in the Formula 3.5 Championship.
Yeah, Eddie Tamborski is going to be very happy about this race, as he's going to put another tally on the laps led list. 23 is starting right about now. While other drivers down throughout the field are still battling, we got Dennis Cornu versus Coyote still in each other's, still in the ring with each other, as some might say, as their battle continues on.
Cornu really struggling to find his way past Coyote. Dennis Cornu almost needs to start thinking about where other places that he can make the overtake. Turn one, not proving necessarily as fruitful as Cornu would have liked, but then has Coyote just been using a little bit more DRS uses as they head towards turn one. It seems, Austin, that Cornu is backing off the throttle a little bit, because Coyote just had a little bit more extra speed at the end of the braking zone that really allowed him to stay ahead of Cornu.
Yeah, Coyote didn't really move away from the race line, and that was all on Cornu. And Cornu, big mistake right there, goes a little bit wide at Coca-Cola Corner. He's going to have to watch that in case he is struggling for track limits or struggling to keep the car going straight, because that might bring on a little bit of floor damage right there. But they are still nose to tail with each other in this fight for 8th place between the Frenchman and the Italian, as heading through Dunlop Corner. The difference in lines that these two could take can really mean a lot in slower cars, but in these high power, high downforce machines, the advantage is minuscule. But following through these cars is definitely going to be providing a lot of dirty air to Dennis Cornu. And Cornu is just going to be looking for a better exit and to get a better front line straightaway than Coyote up ahead as they go down that front straightaway right now. DRS should be activated by Dennis Cornu. Does Coyote have DRS activated as well as they go down the front straightaway? You can see the cars getting closer and closer together. I do not believe Coyote has DRS. Yeah, Coyote does not have DRS. Cornu is closing in, but it's just too little, too late in that final sector. And Cornu is going to have to go another lap behind Coyote. He's going to have to get creative if he can't get him on the straightaway.
Neither then, Coyote's running a little bit lower downforce, but Cornu is just not able to get a good exit through turn 16. Cornu, a heap of understeer through 100R, has to do very well to keep it within the track limits. But Cornu, this is where he's quick, this is where he's made a few attempts before. Austin, I wonder, will he try it once again, I wonder?
He's going to have to go for it. It's that low sayonara down the inside, but around the outside hold by Dennis Cornu. Very, very deep on the brakes, but let me tell you, Dennis Cornu That was a brave move, but Coyote around the outside with a very defensive move. And it worked.
Coyote really sort of played the game of just sort of hoping that Cornu doesn't end up steaming into the side of him. Worked well for Coyote. Clearly has a nerve of steel, but while Cornu tries these, I was going to say half-hearted, very hearted moves, it just allows Coyote just to run a little bit further up the field as they finally, Austin, go side by side towards turn 1.
It's side by side, and this is the opportunity for Dennis Cornu. He's cleared of heading into the break zone. Now he's just got to keep it tight on the exit, and yes, he does. Dennis Cornu into 8th place, but now Coyote, he's going to have a chance to get aggressive right now. Coyote looking down the inside at Coca-Cola Corner. That's a very poor opportunity to make a move right there, but 2 laps to go. Dennis Cornu sitting in 8th place. Got a slow car on the outside. This is the lapped car getting out of the way of everyone. Alacron as Cornu leads out Coyote, and Coyote, you can see he's fallen away from Dennis Cornu now, and now Cornu, we saw on how he could do in dirty air. Well, this is how Cornu does it in clean air now. Let's see if he can pull away as Eddie Samborski is still on the track and taking the white flag, and now we can go back to the fight for 8th.
Eddie Samborski, what an amazing race that he's had. Sets a new fastest lap, but I wonder if that time might tumble a little bit more. Samborski, very much like Sebastian Vettel, who goes for the fastest lap on the final tour of the race. This is, though, for the final place on the podium. Austin Graf has been sort of gaining on Dreshko and up towards turn 1. This could be a tasty battle.
Oh, he's clawing at him right now. Closed in a lot of speed, but a big lockup heading into turn 1. And Derecho holds it around the outside with a little bit of runoff right there. But Derecho round the outside defending for Simon Graf. Simon Graf, well, he had the move made. He had that lockup, though, that really hurt his top-end speed as they continue on right now. But Derecho stays in 3rd. Graf's going to have one last opportunity heading into Dunlap Corner. Big snap oversteer right there by Graf, but he caught it. Can Graf make that move heading to the Dunlap Corner or the final corner? Because it is a very long straightaway. We could see a drag race right here. Graf going to have to charge his way as they are flying through Dunlap Corner and up through the hill.
Dreshko was wide through turn 10, gives a little bit more of an incentive for Graf to make the move, but chances are dwindling for Simon Graf to get on the podium.
As Eddie Samborski comes across the line and takes the win here at Fuji Speedway with a new fastest lap, 1:25.395, as Bohr leads out Derecho and Graf down the straightaway. There is Bohr, there is Derecho, there is Graf. Bohr, he's going to come home in 2nd place. Derecho in 3rd, and Simon Graf in 4th.
What an absolutely supreme race once again that Formula 3.5 has put on. Fuji never fails to deliver. Simon Graf surely will be a little bit disappointed with 4th place, even though he gained 9 places from where he started, and it all really fell away from him in turn 3. That lockup really meant that he couldn't challenge Dreshko through the next couple of corners or so. Omar Baha will cross the line in 12th. Austin, after a fairly disappointing 2 run of races, of course, had that incident at the start 1 week ago, and that spin here today at turn 16, and Baha will be looking forward to putting these 2 races behind him and really resetting for 1 week time.
Indeed, and next week is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of these drivers. I certainly am looking forward to it, and I'm excited as well, as that is a smoke show across the line by Sergio Macias. A race to forget for him. There's Miguel Crespo finishing in 14th, and a few of these drivers going to be saying Fuji was fun, Fuji is all right, and a few of these drivers not looking happy for Fuji at all. Rob Bohr had a fantastic race around here.
Rob Bohr really did, and it was looking a little bit, not hopeless, I think that would be a bit mean to say for the driver in 3rd, but, Bohr almost resigned himself to the final step on the podium, but, as soon as Dreshko made that mistake, Rob Bohr was there, he was decisive with his moves, and yeah, he'll be really, really happy with his result today, and as it should be, put on some absolutely outstanding racing.
And speaking of outstanding races, Marco Coyote and Dennis Cornu, well, they had the battle throughout the race, and that was very fun to watch between these two. They were battling, they were defensive, they were offensive, and it was just a pleasure to watch.
always is the case in the Formula 3.5 Alpine series, as I think we should really try and influence. I think iRacing, of course, we have no influence whatsoever. But Austin, here are your race results.
Eddie Samborski takes the win for the Eddie Samborski No Team Racing Team. Up in first place, 50 seconds ahead of Rob Poor, Carlos Derecho, Simon DeGraff, Jorge Lopez, James Byrne, Eric Wysomowski, Dennis Cornu, Marco Chiotti, Cal Young, Jamie Byrne, Omar Baja, Sergio Macias, Miguel Crespo, and Marcos Alicron, followed by Simon Pizka and Frederick Vesti at the end of our 17 car grid. And that ends out our race here at Fuji.
A little bit of a shame that we didn't get to see Frederick Vesti really apply the talent that we know that he has in these open wheel cars. Just struggled, like many drivers, in fact, through turns 14 and 15. This track is really not easy, especially with this sort of torquey V8 that the Formula 3.5 cars have at their disposal. Really difficult to smoothly apply the throttle. But once again, a great race that we had, and also heartbreak for Simone Pizzica, another driver who was running, high up the field at some points in second place after that, barnstorming start that he had. Looks like he had a little bit of a connection issue, Austin, and that really forced him to fall away from the race. And I think he'll be gutted because that was a really strong performance from him.
Yeah, that is a very unfortunate moment by Simone Pizzica. He had a very strong start, and unfortunately just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and he had to retire. Before we head over to Cali, we are joined by Eddie Samborski. Eddie, 15 seconds in the lead, and I gotta say, this start of yours was the best start I've ever seen you ever have. That was fantastic.
I just saw the weather, and I was like, well, I need to get to turn 1 to lead. This was very, very, very important race for the championship. Myself and Carlos are a point apart, one single point. So I knew this was a track I was strong at, that it was a must win. So I was like, I got to go for it. And it just worked. I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I did anything different, but it just worked.
It just worked, and that's honestly just had to be the best thing that you can say. It just works, and you just did it, and Long Beach is next week. How are you feeling about Cali?
That place is very, very tough. I don't dislike Long Beach. I think the combination of our car and Long Beach is a bit of a stretch. But I don't want to discourage people from driving it, so I'm going to leave it at that. I've actually been there in real life. I love it. It's an awesome place. I don't particularly enjoy turn 1 and the fountain turn as the opening sector. I think the start-finish line should be on the backstretch. I know it sounds weird, but I think there's more of a survivability rate through those corners. So I'm going to spend all week trying to qualify well, and hopefully I can get pole and not have any incidents in turn 1 there.
All right, sounds like a plan. Eddie, before we let you go to get ready for next week, anybody you want to thank?
I'd like to thank everyone for showing up today. I was getting nervous that we weren't going to have a split, but in the end, people are just waiting to register. I'd like to thank Apex, the viewers, anyone who actively participates, including members on the forum. And, y'all know it by now, right?
All right. Well, congratulations, Eddie. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here on Apex Racing TV for this round of the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship Alpine Renault cars. Here for Fuji and Apex Racing TV, I've been joined by Sebastian Bosher-Williams with John Robertson in the production booth. I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.